So moving on to next chapter, which is chapter number 3, market efficiency. Well, what are we going to learn in this chapter? Introduction, fine. Factors affecting market efficiency, forms of market efficiency, fundamental analysis versus technical analysis, too much in prominence right now, right? Fundamental analysis, technical analysis and so on. Let us learn what exactly it is, and market anomalies and behavioral finance. So, this is something which is anomaly or something that should not happen, or even if it happens then that is a wrong thing. So, these are market anomalies and behavioral finance. So, we will be seeing what exactly it is. Okay. So, we will start with the chapter market efficiency. Now, what do we mean by the word market efficiency? The stock market or the financial market, okay, needs to be efficient. What do you mean by the word efficient? Market efficiency. Efficient means what? Informationally efficient, which means a market should have all the information that it requires, so that the trading that takes place is an informed trading and it does not happen all in air, right. So, therefore, we say informationally efficient market. What are we seeing out over here? Informationally efficient capital markets. What do we mean by informationally efficient? Okay, all the information is there in the market. If it is, then we say it is informationally efficient capital market. So, when the current price of a security fully, quickly and rationally reflects all the available information about that security, it is called as an efficient market. Okay, what do we mean by informationally efficient capital market? Just as a wild example, okay, very wild example. A company, Apple Inc., is going to launch a new product, or say for example, okay, not a new product, a company, Apple Inc., is going to declare its results for the quarter 2. The quarter 2 results as of June, okay. So, Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, okay. So, quarter 2 results as of June are going to be declared on somewhere in July, okay. Say for example on July 10th. On 10th of July, Apple Inc. Limited stocks results are going to be declared. This is 10th of July. This is 9 a.m. in the morning when the market starts. This is 10 a.m. when the declaration is going to happen. At this point of time, whatever the price of the security is, say for example $2,000 is the price of the security, okay. If at 10 a.m. the price of the security is 2000 and the results are going to be declared, then the price is going to reflect at the next moment, say for example 10:1. At 10:1 the price of the security will be 2100, okay, because maybe it would have given out robust results and so on. And at this point of time, whatever the price of this particular security is 2100, then there is not going to be much movement in this price. The movement that happens will be because of the normal demand and supply, but not because of the results that have been declared, okay. When the results got declared, it moved from 2000 to 2100 and then it is done and dusted. This is what it actually required. A $100 price movement, that upward movement that has occurred, this is nothing but the total value that is increased because of the results that the company has come up with. Now, this is what informationally efficient capital market is. What do we say by this? When the current price of a security fully, quickly and rationally reflects all the available information about the security, it is called as an efficient market. Now, there are two types of markets: perfectly efficient market and inefficient market. Now, what do we mean by these two words? Perfectly efficient and inefficient markets. So, these are two opposite poles. One is perfectly efficient, and another one is inefficient. Now, in between there will be different forms of efficiency, but right now we are talking about perfectly efficient, and on the other pole there is inefficient market. Now, what do you mean by inefficient market? If all the available information about a particular company, say for example a merger and acquisition information, or the company's results that are going to be declared, okay, all the information, if that is correctly and quickly and fully reflecting in the price of the security, right, we saw in the example of Apple Inc. from 2000 it is moving to 2100. Now, if the price of the security has happened or has turned to 2100, then it means it is informationally efficient. How much efficient we do not know, okay, it can be very strong or it cannot be very strongly efficient. But when we mean that the prices of the security are fully and accurately getting reflected in the price of the security, then it means that it is perfectly efficient market. A perfectly efficient market means whatever should be the ideal price of Apple Inc. after the news of the quarter 2 results or after declaring the quarter 2 results, whatever should be the apt and the correct price of Apple Inc., that correct price should get reflected in the price of the security. There should be no opportunity for for a person to invest or in a security if at all it is undervalued or overvalued and so on. It should apt and correctly get reflected in the price of the security, of the stock. Then it will be known as perfectly efficient. Exactly, very perfectly efficient market. Why? Because all the information that is required, okay, that information is getting reflected in the price of the security. That is known as perfectly efficient market. A completely inefficient market, so we do not say completely inefficient, we will just say inefficient market. So, in an inefficient market, it so happens that the actual or the real or the fair market price of Apple Inc. should be 2100, but it is currently only because maybe there was a huge supply of Apple Inc. shares or something, right now it is only 1900. Now, what are we going to happen? Maybe we will do some fundamental analysis, we will research about the company, we will come to know that, oh my god, this company's shares are undervalued right now. Let me buy the shares right now at 1900 because its ideal price, its fair price should be 2100. Now, currently if the price of the security is not 2100, it is 1900, right? And therefore, we will say that this is an inefficient market because the correct and all the information about a particular stock is not getting reflected in the price of the stock. See, right now it is showing 1900. If at all there were good news about a particular company, there were good results about the company, then the fair value should have been reached, but that has not come, and therefore we say this is an inefficient market, correct? Now, these are the two words that we learned: perfectly efficient market and inefficient market, correct? Now, passive investment strategy and active investment strategy, and then I will explain you what these two words are and then we will link them. Active investment strategy means what? Active investment strategy means, say for example, index of Nasdaq involves FANG stocks. So, this is Facebook, this is Amazon, this is Apple, this is Netflix, and this is Google. Now, these are the 5 stocks, okay. Just imagine there are only 5 stocks in Nasdaq. In reality, there are more. For our explanation, we will take only 5 stocks in the index. In the constituent securities, there are only 5 constituent securities in this index, right. Now, out of these 5 securities, okay, say for example, you feel that, okay, the price of Apple is 2000, this is 1000, this is 1000, this is 1000, this is 2000, just as an example, okay. But in reality, the price of this security is the fair value is 900, 1100, 2500, 1500 and 1800, okay. You know, if there is someone who is an active investment manager, active, okay, if I am an investment manager, I am an active investment manager, What am I going to do? I am going to research about all these 5 companies. Okay. Index will be, say for example, this is equal weighted index maybe, or giving equal weightage to everything. There will be 0.2 weightage to everyone, right. Invest 0.2 money in each and everything, okay, just as an example. So, equal weightage to everyone. But you know, if I am an active manager, what am I going to do? I will research about all these 5 companies. I will come to a conclusion as to what is the fair value of these securities, and I come to know, oh my god, the fair value of this security is 900, but currently this is right now at 1000, which means this is overvalued. This is overvalued. This is fair value is 1100, currently the price is only 1000, this is undervalued. This is undervalued. This is heavily undervalued, and this is overvalued. So, if I am an active manager, first I will research about the company, then I will give its rating as to whether it should be a buy, sell, hold, it is undervalued, overvalued, what, I will do all of that analysis, and then I will actively manage my portfolio. If I am having Facebook shares, I will sell those shares. If I am having Google shares, I will sell those shares. I will further buy Netflix shares, I will buy Apple shares, and I will also buy some amount of Amazon shares. Okay? And then I am going to do active management of these number of shares, so that I can come to a conclusion, I can get some results which are better. Now, in reality, if this thing happens, if it is true, then the price of Facebook will fall from 1000 to 900. The price of Amazon will rise from 1000 to 1100. Price of Apple will rise from 2000 to 2500. So on. This is going to happen, right? And once this happens, I am going to make huge profit. Correct? My profit will be more than what others are doing, right? And therefore, active strategy is going to give you a positive results. Your return are going to be positive. Why? Because I have been active, I have been managing the portfolio well. This is known as active investment strategy, active management. What do you mean by passive management? Don't do anything, sit silent. What has the index given the weightage? Index has given a weightage of 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, equal weightage over here. If index has given an equal weightage, invest all your money equally. Invest all your money equally in these 5. Whatever happens later on is a different thing. Say for example, this price will fall down, this will rise, this will rise, this will rise, this will fall down. Whatever, if the index return is say for example 10%, your returns are also going to be 10% only. Why? Because you have exactly replicated what the index was. If the index rose by 10%, which is in average, all of these rose by 10% on an average, okay. A couple of them even fell down from 1000 to 900, 2000 to 1800, a couple of them fell down, but then in overall 10% is the rise, then even your portfolio is going to rise by 10%. This is known as what? Passive investment strategy, because in passive I am not going to take active indulgence in managing anything. I am going to remain silent, I am going to remain passive, and I am just going to invest in the index. Whatever happens with the index, that is going to happen to my portfolio only. This is what is the passive investment strategy. Now, we will move back to the previous slide. Let us see. Perfectly efficient market. If a market is a perfectly efficient market, what do you mean by perfectly efficient market? All the information of a particular stock is completely, fully and quickly getting reflected in the price of the stock. There is no chance of any undervaluation or overvaluation. Whatever it is, the price of the security is correctly going to get reflected in the price of the security, whatever the information it is. There is no overvaluation, no undervaluation of a stock. Do how much ever research you want to do, the price of the security will correctly get reflected. And therefore, we say that don't do active management, because it is not going to yield any results. What are you going to do? You will be doing passive investment. Just do a passive investment, sit tight, sit idle, don't do anything, put all your money into index fund. Whatever the index is going to perform, that is what your results are going to be in a passive investment strategy. So, just invest the way the index have invested. Your portfolio is going to be replicated as per the index, and that is known as passive investment strategy. What happens in passive investment strategy, that the costs are going to be very low, because there is not going to be any research, there is not going to be any analysis, okay. There will be only hardly some transaction cost that would happen while you are buying and selling the security, but no other research, analysis, stock. Why? Because you have to simply sit idle, replicate whatever the index has done. If the index is giving equal weightage to all the 5 companies, you also invest equally in all the 5 companies. If the index is rebalancing, you also rebalance your portfolio. If index is doing some reconstitution, removing Google and then including some other company instead of that, then you also remove Google from your investments and include other company in your the other company in your portfolio. What are you doing? Passive investment. Just replicate what the index is doing. This is known as passive investment strategy, and it is done to save transaction cost. Why are you doing passive investment strategy? Because the markets are perfectly efficient markets. The price of the security is totally and completely reflecting all the information of a particular security. Okay. Now coming to the other part, inefficient market. Now you will learn more, something better. Inefficient market. Inefficient market means there are inefficiencies in the market. The fair value of a security may be something else and the current price of the security may be something else. We saw Google, it was overvalued. We did research and analysis, we did equity research, we met the management of the company of Google, we came to a conclusion that Google is right now overpriced. The price of the security of Google is 2000, and it's after doing the research we came to know that no, the price, the fair value should be 1800 only. But currently the price in the market, stock market, is 2000. This is what we analyzed and we came to know. What does it mean by that? It means that all the information is not getting currently reflected in the price of the security. If it had to, then the price should have been 1800 right now, but it is not 1800, it is 2000, which means that all the information is not getting reflected in the price of the security. In this particular case, it would be very wise to invest in a active investment strategy, wherein an active investment manager like me, I am going to do research and analysis about all the 5 FAANG companies, FANG companies. I am going to do research about all these 5 companies. I will evaluate who is overvalued, who is undervalued, accordingly take decision and invest in these companies. I will sell the companies, say for example Facebook and Google were overvalued, I will sell them. If I have want to invest those money, okay, whatever the sales proceeds that I have got, I will now invest in AANG, AAN only, AAN, and even I saw Netflix was heavily undervalued, I will invest more over there. This is what active investment strategy is. When is this possible? Active investment strategy, when is it possible? Only when there is inefficient market. Inefficiency means what? Inefficiency means the prices in the stock market is anything. It can be rubbish, it can be either very high or very low, but not showing a true picture. Okay? The prices in the stock market are not giving a true picture. This is where an active investment manager will do some active analysis and actively do some research analysis and come to a conclusion and do something. This is known as active investment strategy. I hope you all have understood. My enthusiasm level goes up. I hope you all are understanding the way in which my enthusiasm is going up, teaching you all. Well, so this is perfectly efficient market, inefficient market. Perfectly efficient market, go for passive investment strategy. Why? Because you want to save on transaction cost, management fees and so on. Management fee is a very important thing. You do not have to hire anyone, because you have to just replicate what the index is doing. Here you will have to hire some brains, right? You will have to hire me, you will have to hire some other educated people, those who are experienced people, you will have to hire them. Why? Because they have to take active have to make active investment strategy, correct? This is what is your perfectly efficient and inefficient market. Now what is the market value and intrinsic value? Market value, it is the current market price quoted in the market. It can be anything, it can be overvalued, undervalued, anything. Intrinsic value means the real or the fair market value or a fundamental value of the security that a rational investor with full knowledge about its characteristics is willing to pay. This is the intrinsic value. If I ask you what is the intrinsic value of a company, it actually means what is the fundamental value, what is the fair market value of this particular security. Okay, that is the right value a rational investor would like to pay that much amount for that particular company, that is known as intrinsic value. And what is market value? Market value is the current market price which is quoted in the market. It can be anything. A fair value of a company can be 100, but when it is a boom period, at that point of time the value of the security may run to 200 as well. And no doubt when it is a crash period, when it is a bear market period, even though the value of the fair value of the security is 100, it may fall down to, say for example, 75. It may happen, the market crashed, right. So market value can be anything, 275, anything. Mainly in banks we see, during banks we see price to book value. Okay, if the book value is, say for example, 100 for a particular bank, okay, it means 100. What do you mean by 100 as a book value? It means that these many are the advances that the bank has given to the people, right. So this is the book value. Now price to book value sometimes falls down below 1, which means 0.8. Now this is terrible. You mean to say that you are having a price to book value of 0.8, which means the bank is at the bank is not valued at 1, but bank is valued at 0.8, which is wrong, right. A financial company should ideally be at 1, because the balance sheet of financial companies are all the fair market value of all the advances that it has made, that is the assets, and all the liabilities that they have kept over here, right. So it may fall down to 0.8, or during a boom period the price to book value may rise to 1.25 as well. Anything is possible. Now this current market prices may go from doldrums from one side to another side. That is possible only in current market price, the market value. Intrinsic value is same, whatever the price of the bond or of the share is. Well, in a highly efficient or in a fully efficient market, market value is equal to intrinsic value. As I told you, what do we mean by informationally efficient, perfectly efficient market? It means all the information is correctly and fully getting reflected in the price of a security, and that is what we are seeing over here. Market value will be equal to intrinsic value when it is a highly efficient or a perfectly efficient market. Market value will be equal to intrinsic value, because the market value of the security is nowhere up or down than the intrinsic value. It is fairly valuing each and everything, correct. Now coming to the next one, what are the factors affecting market efficiency? See, look, everyone wants a very fair market or perfectly efficient market, but in reality that may not be possible. To have a completely efficient market, that is not possible. But then how can we increase the efficiency of the market? Perfectly efficient market is not possible at all, but if we want to increase the efficiency, whatever the efficiency level is, if we want to increase the efficiency level of the market, then what do we mean by that? How can we increase the efficiency market? Number of market participants. If there are more market participants and entry to foreigners is also allowed, then there will be more market efficiency. More the market participants, more is the trading happening, more are the number of people who know about a particular security, they have some information about the security and so on. Foreigners are also allowed, which means the market is opening up. More the participants, more is the efficiency of a particular market. Availability of information, more the information is available to investors, more will be the market efficiency. That is the prima facie thing. More the information, more is going to be the efficiency. Limitations on trading, lesser the limitations, more is going to be the market efficiency. So say for example, there are no limitations on arbitrage, okay, you can do any arbitrage, no short selling allowed, so short selling is allowed, there is no ban on short selling, then all of these things are going to help increase the efficiency. What do short selling do? What does short selling do? We have learned short sell. Short sell means you are selling the securities even though you do not have it, that is you are borrowing the securities from some person and you are selling out in the market. When will you do that? When you know that currently the price of a security is very high, right, it is overvalued and therefore you would like to sell in the market, and then in future when the price comes down you will buy it. This is going to help the price of the security to come down, it is going to help that, right. Now this is going to help. If you are allowing short selling, then the price of the security will definitely come down, because so many people will now start selling the shares of that company which is overvalued. So many people will say for example arbitrage is allowed, so many people will start doing arbitrage, buy from one stock exchange and sell in another stock exchange if there are differences in the prices amongst the two stock exchanges. All of that is allowed. What is it going to do? It is going to rationalize the price of a security, and therefore this is going to help an efficient, it is going to help in bringing up the efficiency of a particular market. So all of this is going to increase the efficiency of the market. So short selling and allowing arbitrage. Transaction and information cost, if there are lesser costs of information, okay, gaining the information, if analysis, trading and etc., the costs of information, analysis, trading, that is transaction cost, all of that are very small, it is going to increase the efficiency of the market, because then more people will be trading in the market. If there are inefficiencies in the market, say for example the price is very low and the price currently is very low, the fair value of that particular security is very high, and if the transaction cost is low, then many people are going to come and buy these securities, right, and bring up the price of the security, and then both are going to come at the same level. What has this done? It has increased the efficiency of the market, right. So these are the different methods. So more the number of participants, more the available information in the market, if there are no limitations on trading, and transaction costs are also very low, all of these are going to lead to market efficiency, and this is what we require. Okay. Well, so we have also done with market efficiency. Now we will move to different forms of market efficiency. Remember, the three forms of market efficiency are weak form market efficiency, semi-strong form market efficiency, and strong form market efficiency. These are the three forms of market efficiency. Remember, all the three forms of market efficiency are efficient markets. Okay, none of them is a inefficient market, all of them are efficient market, whether it is weak form or semi strong form or strong form market efficiency, all of the three are efficient market. Just the thing how much strong they are, one is weak, one is semi strong and one is very strong. All the three are different forms of market efficiency. Remember, I am not talking about totally imperfect or totally inefficient market efficiency, and I am not talking about perfectly efficient. Okay, I am not talking of this and I am not talking of this. I am talking about in between both of them, that is all the three of them are efficient market only, but one is weak, one is semi strong, one is strong. And here we are going to learn about the weak form market efficiency. Now what happens in a weak form market efficiency? Current security prices fully reflect all the currently available security market data, which is past price and volume data, that is market data has no predictive power about the future direction. Okay, all the past information is getting reflected in the price of the security. All the past information, all the available information, what all are the available information with you? Okay, if you want historic prices of the security, if you want to know the volumes of the security, what has happened in past 5 days, what are the average volumes of past 5 days, of past 1 month. Okay, so volume data you are having, these are the two price data, price and volume data are the market data that you are already having. All of that data, whatever it is having, is properly getting reflected in the current market prices. So the current market prices involves or reflects all the currently available information, no new information. Okay, no new information, but all the currently available information is getting reflected in the price of the security currently there. And therefore, if at all you do price volume data, technical analysis, all of that, that is not going to give you any results. Why? Because the current market price is definitely discounting all of that. The current market price knows the past information, the previous or the price data, the volume data, everything, it is already knowing it. So, the movement in the price of the security is not going to be basis the price and volume data, basis the technical analysis, right. Price and volume data means what? Learning about the charts and what is the volume that has happened. Okay, volume is usually the bar chart like this, volumes are there, volumes will be high over here, right. Volumes will be like this, price will be a line chart like this, right. So, when you do this market analysis, when you do head and shoulder analysis, right, this is how a head and shoulder is. Let me do properly. This is a head and shoulder type of a thing, this is a double bottom sort of a chart, right. So, all of these technical analysis is not going to lead you to any profits, which is what is saying price change is independent from one period to another period. Positive risk adjusted returns, that is abnormal profits, cannot be achieved through technical analysis. Therefore, by doing technical analysis, what is technical analysis? Technical analysis is nothing but looking at the price, looking at the volumes that have occurred in the previous 1 month, in past 1 year, 2 years, whatever, looking at the price, looking at the charts, whether up, whether there has been a head and shoulder or not, whether there is a rising trend or not, whether there is a double bottom or not, whether there is a support level, resistance level, MACD, Bollinger Bands. Okay, doing all of this will not lead you to any profits. Why? Because what the current price is right now, that is already inclusive or reflecting the past information, the price, volume and all of this. So, technical analysis is not going to give you positive results, which is the positive risk adjusted return or abnormal profits. Abnormal profits, another name is risk adjusted return. So, you will not get positive risk adjusted returns or abnormal profits by doing technical analysis, right. Well, if you have some predictive power that in future this company is really going to do great, there are so many people in the world using Apple and Apple is now going to India, China, having 1/3 population in India, 1/3 population in China. So, sorry, 1/6 population in India, 1/6 population of the world in China. So, technically these two countries itself is having 1/3 population of the world. Now, Apple is going to these two big markets and Indian population is 3 to 4, maybe 3 times of US population, and when Apple is going over there, there is going to be huge potential and all of that. If you have that thing in your mind, you do fundamental analysis, Apple is going over here, there, you met the management of the company, you saw that the management is coming up with a plant in India and China and it is ramping up the production like anything, and they have huge sales targets and they are also getting a very positive response from these two countries, and all of these when you do, then doing this fundamental analysis, that prices are not getting reflected over here because this is a weak form efficiency. A weak form efficiency is only and only going to reflect past price and volume data, and therefore this is nothing but the technical analysis. Technical analysis uses past price and volume data. Fundamental analysis means doing all of these activities, meeting the management, doing equity research, writing a huge equity report, research report on a company, and then coming to a conclusion that the prospects of this company is excellent. The price of this share from 2000 should move to 4000, okay, just as an example of Apple Inc. Yeah, this will lead to some profits in case it really happens like that. But what are we talking about? Weak form efficiency. So, in a weak form efficiency, technical analysis will not lead you to profits. Well, coming to the next one and then you will learn more. Semi-strong form market efficiency. Semi-strong form market efficiency means security prices. If say for example, I say that Indian markets are semi-strong form market efficiency. If I say like that, then what do we mean by that? Okay. Say for example, I say US markets are weak form market efficiency. It is not, okay, it is not. I am just giving you an example for your understanding purposes. If I say that, okay, then let me take a proper example. If I say that Indian markets are weak form market efficient, US market are semi-strong form market efficient, what do we mean by that? We mean that if US markets are semi-strong form market efficient, what do we mean by that? security prices rapidly adjust to the arrival of new information. As soon as the quarter 2 results of Apple Inc. are just there in the market, immediately on the declaration of the results, the price of Apple Inc. is going to either rise or fall, whatever the results of the company are. If their results are good, the price will rise. If the results are not that good, the price is going to fall, whatever it is. Okay? If this happens like this, the price, we say that current security prices reflect all the publicly available information. Okay? All the publicly available information. So, semi-strong form market efficiency no doubt includes the previous weak form market efficiency, that is the price and volume data. Along with that, it also includes all the new public information. So, what are the public information? The announcement that I made about the quarter 2 results in the market, that is the public information. So, it reflects all the publicly information. Current security prices include the past information, which is the price and the volume data that we saw in the last weak form efficiency. Price and volume data, past price and volume data, plus all the non-market but public data, non-market public data, both of them are included. So, positive risk adjusted returns cannot be achieved through fundamental analysis also. You do fundamental analysis about a particular company and yet you cannot get positive risk adjusted returns, that is abnormal returns, that is by doing forget about positive risk adjusted returns or abnormal returns, just consider this as normal profits, okay, normal profits. You cannot get profit by doing fundamental analysis if the market is a semi-strong form market efficiency. Why? Because the prices of the security are correctly reflecting that. Say for example, the Q2 results of Apple Inc. came, they were very good. Price of the security, that the fundamental analysis that you do, you came to a conclusion that the price of the security should be 2200, but currently the price is only 1900. Currently the price is only 1900. Why? Because it is not a semi-strong form market efficient. If it was a semi-strong form market efficient, then the current market price of the security should have been 2200. Why? Because it obviously includes this past price and volume data, that is volume data, the market data, and also non-market public data, that is the results of the company, correct? And therefore, we say that fundamental analysis will not lead you to profits or abnormal profits if it is a semi-strong form market efficiency. Well, if it was a weak form market efficiency, then your fundamental analysis would have given you very good results or very good profits. It would have given you positive risk adjusted returns or abnormal profits if it was a weak form market efficiency. If it is a semi-strong form market efficiency, then forget about technical analysis, that will not give you profits even in weak form. Then how will it give you profits in semi-strong form also? So, technical analysis is no doubt it is not going to give you profits anywhere. But now even fundamental analysis will not give you profits in semi-strong form market efficiency. Why? Because the prices of the securities are reflecting all the publicly available information. So, this is what your semi-strong form market efficiency is. Now, a strong form market efficiency. Now, what is there in strong form market efficiency? In a strong form market efficiency, current security prices fully reflect all the information about both the public and the private sources as well. Private sources means what? All the insider information and all the non-public information, okay. The way in ethics we had seen material non-public information, that non-public information, that is known as the information that you get from private sources which is not yet public, okay. So, all the information, be it private information or public information, everything gets reflected in the price of the security. It means that the market is so efficient, it is so efficient that even insider information, that also gets reflected in the prices of the security. So, what is it saying? Current security prices reflect all the past information which was there only in weak form efficiency, public information which also got added in the semi-strong form market efficiency, and also private information, which now got added in strong firm market efficiency. So, a strong firm market efficiency will have all the three. It will have all the past information related to price and volume data. So, technical analysis, there is no need for technical analysis. Technical analysis will not give you positive risk adjusted results in strong firm market efficiency. It even didn't used to give in weak form as well. Public information is also included in the price of the security, because this is a strong firm market efficiency, and therefore fundamental analysis is also not going to give you any great profits in the strong firm market efficiency, and anyways it did not give in semi strong firm as well. And now even private information, that is not going to give you any profits in any abnormal profits in strong firm market efficiency, and that is why it is known as a very strong firm market efficiency, because even insider information will not give you any profits, because the prices would have already taken or factored in the information that you have got. If I get some private information today, the market price would already have that before that. So, there is someone definitely before me also who would have taken the opportunity, and maybe there is no one, the prices reflect everything. So, on a holistic basis, if we see, there is a strong firm market efficiency is very difficult to achieve. This is theoretical, yet we need to learn what theoretical things are also there. So, even though this is theoretical, we need to learn what a strong firm market efficiency is. So, positive risk adjusted returns, that is abnormal profits, cannot be achieved by anyone in the market, okay? No one, not even technical chartists and analysts, they cannot have it. Even fundamental analysts and research analysts, even they cannot profit if it is a strong firm market efficiency, and even insiders or even the ones who are having private information or private source of information, even those insider cannot take profit if this is a strong firm market efficiency. So, insider trading is also not going to yield any results. Okay. So, we have taken all the three into consideration. Let me just brief you all the three to you all. First one is weak form market. So, these are the market hypotheses, okay? Market efficiency or hypothesis. So, what is the market efficiency or hypothesis? The weak form of hypothesis, weak form market efficiency. Second is semi strong form market efficiency, and the third one is strong form market efficiency. So, coming to the weak form market efficiency, in a weak form market efficiency, the current market prices are going to reflect all the past information or all the current information and market information or market data relating to price, volumes, charts, technical analysis and so on. It is going to get reflected in these prices, and therefore, you by doing technical analysis will not be able to generate positive risk adjusted returns, or we call it as you will not be able to attain through technical analysis abnormal profits. Well, if you are smart enough, if you have fundamental analysis, or if you have somehow got some insider information or a private information, and if the market is a weak form market hypothesis or a weak form of efficiency, then maybe fundamental analysis and some private information or insider trading can give you some profits, but technical analysis won't be able to give you abnormal profits. Coming to semi strong form market efficiency, all the past as well as new information or the current information and the new information is going to get reflected in the prices of the security immediately, and therefore, we call this market as semi strong form market efficiency. Forget about technical analysis, that is not going to give you profits over here. Even the fundamental analysis is not going to give you positive risk adjusted returns. It can give you some nominal returns here and there, but risk adjusted returns on a positive basis they are not going to give you. So, no abnormal profits from fundamental analysis as well as technical analysis over here. Now, coming to strong firm market efficiency, this is so strong firm market efficiency, all the information gets reflected in the price of the security. Now, which all the past data, that is the market data, price volume data, that is not going to give you any positive risk adjusted returns, as well as you are not going to get returns from fundamental analysis. Why? Because the prices also reflect all the new information, all the publicly available new information, as well as information from the private sources which are not yet out in the public. Even if insider information you are going to have, that will not give you any result. This is your strong form market efficiency. So, no technical analysis, no fundamental analysis, and no insider information is also going to give you abnormal profits. Now, you know what happens in this in this strong form market efficiency. Say for example, Apple's price is 2000. Suddenly one fine morning when you wake up, you see Apple's price is 2100, that is plus 5% up today. The market is very normal. Nasdaq or Dow Jones is rather negative, minus 0.0, maybe minus 0.5% or something. Market is negative. Overall general sentiments are negative. Yet Apple's price is going to be positive, that too by 5%. Why? Sometime it may happen like that. Why it may happen? Because as I earlier mentioned you, because some of the insiders are having information, and after 2 days it will happen. After 2 days Apple Inc. is going to launch a new product, and after 2 days that announcement comes up, right. It so happens just 2 days before the earnings results or something, the price of the security either falls down or rises. This happens. Why? Because the insiders are taking part in that market. Okay. So, all of this happens. This is the market hypothesis, efficient hypothesis, and we have seen weak form, semi-strong form and strong form market efficiency. A couple of questions from this particular segment is most likely going to come in your examination. It is so likely, it will you know, there are very very high chances, I can say 99.999999% chances that 2 questions out of these market hypotheses will come in examination. Okay. So, very important, if you all have not understood this particular part of the chapter, go back to the video, learn again, because it is very important. You need to learn this. Okay. And it is simple as well, it is not very difficult. So, we will just move ahead, understand the fundamental and technical analysis. We have already done this. Okay. Fundamental analysis. So, when you are what comes in fundamental analysis? When you do plant visits, you meet the management of the company, you do the forecasting of the financial statements, you look at the financial statements, do ratio analysis, and you prepare a equity research report of that particular company, and you come to a conclusion as to buy, sell, hold, you know, or whatever you are doing. That equity research report when you make of a particular company, that is the real fundamental analysis that you have done. This is what we are saying, examining publicly available information, okay, publicly available information, and estimates to find the intrinsic value of the assets and the securities. Buy, sell, hold, add, reduce, maintain, overweight, underweight decisions are taken basis the evaluation of financial statements and future prospects of the company. Fundamental analysis assists in maintaining semi-strong form market efficiency. Okay. So, they are assisting semi-strong form market efficiency. Okay. Through fundamental analysis, you will not be able to make abnormal profits in semi-strong form market efficiency, because in a semi-strong form market efficiency, fundamental analysis is already included in the security market prices. You will not get a profit if you do fundamental analysis and try to trade in a semi-strong form market analysis. Right. If it was a weak form market analysis, weak form market efficiency, then maybe your fundamental analysis would have got some profits, okay, not otherwise. Well, coming to technical analysis, examining the price patterns. Okay. So, there are price patterns like rising trend, okay, upward trending, downward trending, higher highs and lower lows, right, head and shoulder, this is a head and shoulder, then support, resistance level, then MACD, Bollinger Bands, and volumes, price. Okay. When you do all of these analysis, okay, this is technical analysis, and by doing this technical analysis, what you gain is you are actually seeing the past price and volume data, which is known as the market data. So, examining the price patterns, technical charts, volume data, etc., to predict the future price movement of the security. Again, based on that, you will be giving buy, sell, add, reduce, maintain, overweight, underweight decisions are taken basis the price volume and other historical data over here. Okay, over here we were looking for the fundamental analysis, we were looking at the future prospects of the company. In technical analysis we are looking at the historical data and analysis and market data, price volume data and so on, which are historic data. Technical analysis assists in maintaining a weak form market efficiency, which means that technical analysis is already a part of the weak form market efficiency or weak form market hypothesis. It is a part of it. The security prices are already reflecting whatever is done through technical analysis. Then therefore, an investment manager or people like you and me, if we do technical analysis and try to attain some great abnormal profits from such a weak market through technical analysis, then that is not possible. We won't get abnormal profits, correct? We will not get abnormal profits. Okay, for technical analysis to work, the market should be a very inefficient market. If it is an inefficient market, then at that point of time technical analysis will also work. Now, in a portfolio management, in a weak and semi strong form market efficiency, abnormal profits are very difficult. Why? Because neither technical analysis nor fundamental analysis is going to give you abnormal profits, at least in semi strong form market efficiency. Thus, passive investment strategy outperforms the active one. Why it is going to outperform? Because in passive investment strategy, at least the management fees, or there is no one to manage and therefore fees are not paid, and therefore that returns are generated. There will be less cost, and active management there is going to be too much cost, and therefore passive investment strategy is advised in weak and semi strong form market efficiency, because there is no one required to do fundamental analysis, technical analysis and so on. Just replicate the index fund. Yet we would suggest, and we want to build a career in investment management, equity research and analysis and so on, right, portfolio management and so on. So, I will not discourage anyone of y'all, neither I will discourage the clients to not have investment managers, because investment managers are required. Even though if it is a semi strong form or a weak form market hypothesis, investment managers are required. Okay. Why are they required? Because yet portfolio manager is required to align with the portfolio objectives, the risk and the return objectives, right. So, to align the risk and the return objectives, active manager is required. Okay. A manager is required, whether he actively manages or passively manages is a different thing, but a manager is required because he will bring some synergy, or he will bring some connect between the risk and the return objectives, which are your portfolio objectives. He will bring some discipline in the risk, and diversification is what he will be bringing, and he will properly allocate all the assets based on the expertise he has gathered, the experience he has gathered over the years and so on. So, even that is important. I will tell you one very important thing, okay, a learning that obviously I was knowing it, but I would like to share it with you all. Okay, you would have seen, okay, always remember this in your life as well. Okay, this is a free learning from you. Whatever experience that I have had, whatever experience that I have put in the portfolio that I manage for my clients, and you know, the services which I give to my clients, I would like to give it to you free of cost. I mean, which is included in this video along with this is listen, now very important. We all know that in February and March 2020, when the COVID situation was rising, there was lockdown all over, which were going to be announced. Okay, things in China were worse even before that, but being a constrained country, we don't know much about what happens in China. There is no news agency over there, nothing, no democracy, right? Exactly, there is no democracy. So, we don't know what was happening in China, but people say that since November 19 things had gone worse over there, but people were not knowing much. Well, when it comes to democratic countries like India, US and you know, European nations and so on, people come to know because the media is free over there. And therefore, by February we came to know that yes, things are not that good in the market, and things may get worse from there, and therefore market has fallen down, it had crashed, right? We all know that markets had crashed in February and March 2020, but immediately all the central banks of different economies, what did they do? All the different economies, they gave a lot of liquidity in the market, they provided significant liquidity in the market, everyone gave packages, relief packages and liquidity in the market, and interest rates were lowered down and so on. So, whenever there is liquidity in the market, the prices of the securities, especially small caps and mid caps, they rise a lot, right? They rise a lot. Even though there was lockdown throughout April, May, June, July, August, and then maybe things had picked up, but then till August, September there was lockdown and constrained activity, GDP was reducing or maybe negative for so many countries, GDP was negative, and there was gloom all over. The businesses had not started, except for some pharmaceutical companies or for few IT companies. Maybe the businesses were not great. For them the businesses were great, but for everyone others, the businesses were very bad. And in the initial few months, even the consumer goods were not doing that good, because discretionary spending was not coming. People were just buying some necessity items. Okay, large discretionary items were not purchased. Now this gave a huge shrink on the GDP of the country, okay, of all the economies, and therefore the share prices, the stock market was not reflecting the gloom that was there in the economy. The stock market was rising. The whole of April, May, June, July, August, September, the stock market has risen. Okay, the Nasdaq, which was at 10,011 before February or in January 2020, okay, it fell from the highs of 10,000 to maybe 8,000 or something, 9,000 or something, right? Or maybe it was at some level like 9,000 or something. From 9,000 it rose to 12,000 in September, or something like that. Okay, it fell down from 10,000 to 8,000, 9,000, somewhat that level, and from that level it rose to 12,000, okay, reaching the new peak. Now, is it representing the market? No, it is not representing the market. Yet, why all of these things happen? Because this is what the learning is. This is what the experience speaks. The experience says that whenever there is high liquidity in the market, money has been thrown open, then the stock prices, and for that matter any asset prices, is going to rise. Which all assets? Even gold prices have risen, right? So this is one learning that we can have. So you all are young, always remember, people like young people like you are going to live and see this market for next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and in these 50 years 6, 7, 8 times such situation will happen wherein the market will crash. After the crash, maybe like in 2020 we saw during COVID that central banks immediately they opened their doors for liquidity immediately. In 2008 financial crisis, subprime crisis, we saw that immediately central banks did not open the doors of liquidity. They opened the doors in 2009 or 2010. After that, maybe the momentum came and the prices rose, right? The stock prices rose. So always remember this: whenever the liquidity is high, at that point of time the market prices or the stock prices are going to rise. This is the learning for you. Always in the next 70 years, okay, you will have to remember that Adit had told you this particular learning. In your next 7 to 8 times that you will be seeing in your lifetime, okay, the 50 years, 60 years, if you are not that young, if you are even 40 years old, 50 years old, whatever, okay, next time whenever this particular thing happens, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your mind open. Remember this particular session that I have been taking right now, and I have told you that whenever the liquidity is high, forget what the economy it is. If the liquidity is high, the asset prices are going to rise. Small cap and mid cap indexes are going to rise like anything. No doubt, if you constrain the liquidity, then the prices will fall down like anything. Okay. So, well, this comes along with experience, this comes along with learning, and that is what we have been doing. Like I may have many other experiences which I will be sharing with my client or applying to my clients' portfolios, and the same I am giving it to you all as well. Always remember this particular thing. This is a learning, and I'm more than happy to share it with along with you all. So it's for the general benefit. Those who hear it out from me should know about my learnings as well. And I also learned from someone else or out of my experience. So I would like to share along with you the way I learn from others. The same way I need to give it or pass it on to you all. And someday even I would like to hear from you, learn from you as well. So no doubt you all know where to connect with me. social media is a place where you can connect with me anytime. I am there, you can learn from me, and I definitely want to learn something from you as well, because all are capable, even you all are having some kind of a thing that I can learn from. So, well, we will move to the next one. Anomalies. What are market anomalies? Any deviation from the common rule is known as an anomaly. You are going on a path, any deviation from that is known as the anomaly. So, if the right thing is the straight path, if you move from the right thing, that will be known as anomaly. Now, what is anomaly? Calendar anomaly, January effect, tax loss savings or tax loss harvesting, tax harvesting, all of this, window dressing, all of this is calendar anomaly. Okay. So, just imagine, you have bought a share worth $200. Okay. You have bought a share worth $200. 31st December is the year end in US, 31st March is the year end in India. Okay, we will take a US example. 31st December is the year end in US. The price in December of this particular stock is 150. Massive losses. You are having a massive loss of $50 per share. Okay, how many shares you are having? Forget about it. That is your imagination. Okay, based on your capacity, you can think whatever it is. One share you are having a $50 loss, right? So, you have had a profit of say for example 3,000. Okay, you have a $3,000 profit in your proprietary books, the trading that you do, and you had actually 10 shares. Okay, you have actually, okay, I will say 100 shares of this. Okay, I will only give you an example, forget about your thoughts. Okay, you are having 100 shares of this company. Now, you have already made a profit of 3,000 in the whole year. Throughout the year, you have made a profit of 3,000. Now, you have to pay a tax on this 3,000 income that you have generated in the stock market trading, whatever the income is, at 30% per annum. 30% is the tax rate. So, you have to pay $900 as the income tax for this year. You know what do? The price of this stock has fallen down to 150. So, something when you reach at 28th or 29th of December, what are you going to do? You are going to sell this share at $150 and you are going to book your profits. And therefore, once you book here you are having a loss. So, once you book your loss, 50 into 100 shares you have bought, you have sold, right, and therefore, you are going to have a loss of 5,000 total loss. So, 5,000 is the total loss. You are at a cumulative loss of 2,000. Will you have to pay any tax right now? Now, you won't have to pay any tax. Rather, your loss is going to be carried forward to the next year. Carry forward of losses. Correct? Immediately, as soon as you come to 2nd January or 1st January, the price of the security now will be around 152 or 153. You are going to immediately buy back this stock at 152, right? Or maybe just for technical basis, let us say you are going to buy this stock at 150. What did you do? You sold this stock at 150 on 28th of December. Immediately 3 days later, you bought this stock at 150 per share, and therefore, what happened is, by doing this, you did not lose anything over here, but over here you saved your $900 tax that you had to pay to the government. This is what is known as tax loss harvesting. This is known as tax loss harvesting, and this is very important because everyone does so. This is what has happened in December. The price of the stock has fallen down, and in January the price of the stock will rise, because in December, like you, there will be hundreds other, especially the price of the stock which has fallen down, there will be hundreds other who will be, thousands also who will be selling this stock right now in December. And the same people will again in January come back and buy this stock, because they do not want to sell this stock, they want to keep it for a few more years and want to sell it for $1,000 whenever it happens after 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right? They want to do like this. And therefore, we say that this is the calendar anomaly. Such things happen. Okay, forget about the fundamental value of the stock, but in December the price of the stock is going to fall down a little bit, in January it is going to rise a little bit. This is what happens. This is a calendar anomaly. Now coming to overreaction anomaly. Hammered stock perform better on surprises. Now a stock which is already getting hammered every point of time, maybe due to some or the other reason, will suddenly spring to a surprise, it will suddenly rise or bounce back when there is even a small surprise or a positive news about that company. Now this is known as overreaction anomaly, correct, because then people start thinking that something good is going to happen. Momentum anomaly, continued high short term returns. If a company share is moving up like this, okay, this is known as the momentum trading. There is a momentum over here, it is going to keep on rising a little bit till the time it till that euphoria goes away. This is known as momentum anomaly. Growth value anomaly, people say that value stocks outperform growth stocks. This is the anomaly that is usually there in the market, and to some extent it is true as well. Earnings announcement, earnings surprise lead to abnormal profits. Okay, so if there is a surprise element in the earnings or the quarterly results or the annual results or so on, if there is a surprise, then it is going to give rise to abnormal profits. Okay, and IPO anomaly, usually IPO is priced at a lower than its usual market price. Say for example, if the fair market value of a particular stock which is newly coming in the market is this much, the IPO price is going to be this much. The price at which the allotment is going to happen is going to be this much. Why? So that when the IPO lists in the market, the stock lists in the market, it lists at a premium, and this is something good. If should list at a premium, it shows the positive effect of the stock, right. So these are the market anomalies that happen, and this is what we need to learn. Now coming to behavioral finance, actual decision making process or behavior of the investor is known as behavioral finance. Now remember guys, every one of you of us, okay, on an individual basis, not on an institutional basis. So if I am working for my client, I will not have this bias or behavioral bias amongst me for me, okay, when I am doing for my client. But on an individual basis, we all will be having these biases that we are going to see over here. This is known as behavioral finance. We are going to look out over here. What are the different behavioral finance? These are very psychological, and not just me, not just you, but there will be many others who will be facing these behavioral finances. Okay, the first one is loss aversion, tendency to be afraid of a loss than an equal amount of gain. So for a loss, you are going to be more risk averse. It means you are going to be more afraid of a loss than for an equal amount of gain. Say for example, this happens with many people. If a stock from 100 goes to 90, you will keep this stock. You will feel that, okay, let this stock come to 100 and I will sell this off. However, you had bought this stock considering this stock will go to from 100 to 500. This is what you were thinking, but when it comes down to 90, you start getting afraid. You think that now if it comes to 100, I will sell this stock. I don't want this. Okay, but before it goes to 100, it goes from 90 to 91 or something and immediately falls down to 80. Now you will be still afraid. You are in a fear. You think now I am a long term investor, I am not going to sell this stock. But in case it comes to 90, I am ready to take a 10% loss and I will switch to some good or a better company. But once it comes to 90, I will sell this stock. Instead of coming to 90, it comes down to 70. Now you are distraught. You don't know what to do. Now you are thinking that, okay, you are a long term investor. You will never sell this stock ever, because you know that this stock will go to 500. This is what you think. Now in reality, I don't know what happens to this stock, but this stock from 70 to 80, if it goes, you are ready to sell. Okay, you are thinking that if it comes to 80, I will sell, but then you are not able to sell even at 70. Earlier you were thinking that from 80, if it goes to 90, you will sell, but now you are not able to sell. From 90, if it goes to 100, you are able to sell, but you are not thinking to sell at this point of time. This is what loss aversion is. However, if from 100 it goes to 110, you will immediately sell, because you think that you are now going to, if at all this comes back to 100 again, you will be now facing a loss, not considering that this can go to 200. No, then if it goes to 200, it's a different thing. You will in a hindsight think, why did you sell? Now all of this is psychological in nature. Okay, it doesn't just happen with you, it happens with everyone. Even in my individual capacity, it happens with me as well. Forget about you all, forget about others, it happens with every single person, okay, everyone. So, you need to be rational, you need to reduce this if you cannot completely eliminate this. This is loss aversion which we need to know. This is a behavioral finance. Okay. Investor overconfidence. Now, there are so many oversmart people, overconfident people, they have tendency to overestimate their ability to analyze. Now, they are smart, they are over smart. Okay. Their ability to analyze is as if they know everything about what is going to happen in future. So, this is investors overconfidence. And herding, what do you mean by the word herding? Herding is tendency to copy others, especially the mutual funds or some of the great analysts and so on. So, if there is some market expert or a mutual fund, we would like to replicate their portfolio. This is known as the herding behavior. So, without you yourself doing analysis, you replicate what others are doing. This is known as the herding behavior, because like a herd, you are going to follow that person. Well, so we have completed this chapter, very important. All the three anomalies are very, very important. So, I hope this chapter has been good for you all. We'll meet in the next chapter. See you.